We're talking about UFC rivalries. Okay, ready, set, go. First one we're going to talk about, we got Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya. This is a great rivalry. Everybody loves this one. Whether you're an Adesanya fan or an Adesanya hater, I am definitely the latter. It's a great rivalry. You can enjoy it on either side. I'm going to say it's S tier because it is authentic. There is some authentic beef here. There is some real, genuine hatred, especially from Israel Adesanya. I don't think Alex Pereira really cares much. Alex Pereira seems to respect Adesanya. Adesanya hates Alex Pereira, and he really hates Alex Pereira's kid. Yeah, no, I mean, he hates Alex Pereira because he beat him 3 times, and he just chases him down, and he beats him everywhere. I mean, he probably is the cop that pulled over Adesanya a few weeks back. If you guys know about that, Adesanya drunk driving, quite foolish. It's a great beef. Has an unfortunate end if it is over with Israel Adesanya knocking out Alex Pereira and then mocking his child. But whatever, that's how it goes, you know? It's a tough sport. Next one we're going to talk about, it's kind of a weird one, but Colby Covington and Dustin Poirier. This one's kind of random because they have beef, but they'll probably never fight. But again, this is some authentic hatred. This is a deeper hatred than Adesanya versus Pereira. I'm not going to put it as high as Adesanya versus Pereira, though, because they'll probably never fight. And Dustin Poirier has even said that he doesn't want to fight Colby Covington because he doesn't want Colby Covington to make money off of his name. So I'm going to put it at B tier. It's just a really good beef for the interviews, for the press conferences, that kind of thing. We need to get these two guys on a card together so they can go back and forth. It would be amazing. They'll never fight. The other issue with this beef that this first beef doesn't have is if they ever do fight, it won't be very competitive, I don't think. Pretty much every rivalry on this list, I think, has a competitive aspect to it. This one, though, I mean, you might disagree with me, but I'm pretty sure Colby Covington would just dominate Dustin Poirier. And I like Dustin Poirier a lot, but grappling has never been his strong suit, so yeah. The next one we've got is Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. That's an interesting one. This one's very interesting because there isn't much of a rivalry in terms of like disrespect or dislike toward one another. Maybe a little bit of dislike. They definitely respect each other, especially after the first fight. But this is just a competitive rivalry. I'm going to put it A tier, just for the competitive aspect. These are basically the best 2 fighters in the world right now. And they had a razor close fight that fans are very split on whether or not they think Islam won or Volk won. Islam ended up getting the win. Volk wants it back. That's a great rivalry. It's great for the sport. I can't wait to see these guys fight again. I don't think anybody else can wait to see these guys fight again. It was incredible the first time. I'm sure it'll be incredible the second time. Okay, so the next one we're going to bring out here is Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. Another really good rivalry where the guys genuinely don't like each other. They do respect each other. Again, there's going to be a couple on here, I think, where there's not much respect at all. But there is respect in here for their skills. They had a very weird first fight. O'Malley was winning 90% of the fight, and then Chito throws that kick, hits the perennial nerve. Everyone knows the story. Sean O'Malley goes down. Chito Vera gets on top of him, rains a few shots. I guess, according to MMA Joey, he flash KOs Sean O'Malley, and then he gets taken out on a stretcher with no serious injuries, whatever MMA Joey always says. Shout out MMA Joey. Regardless, it's a really good rivalry. It's really fun to see these guys go back and forth with each other online, and just the memes it's made. I should probably rank this, actually. I'm going to put it at a B tier. Just the memes that it's made, the way it kind of sparked this whole Sean O'Malley being mentally undefeated thing, and that alone makes it great. And whenever you hear them talk about each other, Sean O'Malley seems to be very lighthearted about it, but he still thinks that Chito, like, he always makes jokes about how Chito sucks, and Chito always just says that he'll knock Sean O'Malley out again, whatever. This is a fight we're undoubtedly going to see someday. Again, probably soon, to be honest. It might be Sean's next fight. But it suffers from the same problem that Colby and Poirier suffer from, and that's that I don't think it's going to be a super competitive fight. I don't like Sean O'Malley very much, but I do think he's probably going to whoop up on Chito if they rematch. I just think Sean O'Malley has leveled up so much since their first fight, and Chito less so. He's too slow of a starter. He doesn't have enough output. He could catch O'Malley, but I don't really think he will. The next one we're going to talk about, we've got Conor McGregor versus Iron Michael Chandler. This is a stinky one. This one kind of sucks. I'm putting this at D tier. This is a lame rivalry, and I'm going to explain why. It feels so forced, and I think it's mostly Michael Chandler's fault. I like Michael Chandler. I think he's a good dude. He adopts children. He seems really nice. That's great. This rivalry feels so fabricated for the sake of a show, and on top of that, is it really a rivalry if one guy, Michael Chandler, is so desperate for the fight, not because he dislikes the opponent, but because he wants money? It is a stinky rivalry. It's not any good. The trash talk hasn't really been any good. None of the TV show was good. There was almost no good moments. Conor pushed Chandler at one point. Like, whoop-de-doo, he pushed him, and Chandler had a very strange reaction. So yeah, I like Chandler, and usually Conor's in good rivalries, but this one, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't click good. I do hope the fight happens, though, because I think it would be an amazing fight. Next one. This one is not a stinker. This is Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis. I think we've got another S tier right here. This one gets serious, okay? Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya do not like each other at all. And I don't think they respect each other either. I think there's zero respect there, which I don't blame Dricus. Adesanya touches his dog. How can you respect him? There's just an energy when they're in there together. When they had that face-off after Dricus beat Robert Whittaker, there was this energy between them that makes you really want to see them fight. And now I'm a little nervous that we actually won't see that. Now that Izzy's lost the belt, I don't think he's going to get it back, to be honest. So it's hard to say if we're ever going to get this fight. Hopefully we do, because we need answers. But yeah, that's a great rivalry. It's another one where Israel Adesanya is definitely the bad guy, by the way. He's always the mean one in these rivalries. It's never like, he's not the nice guy that his fans think he is. He's just always the jerk. But whatever. Next, we got Yuri Prochazka and Jamal Hill. I'm going to put it at D tier. Nah, I'll put it at C tier. This one isn't really a rivalry. The thing about this one, the reason it's not very good is because it's not really a rivalry between the two of them for anything that they have said or done. It's all Ariel Helwani's fault. If you watch Ariel Helwani's show, he has basically fabricated this whole thing by having both these guys on, and Ariel Helwani and Jamal Hill have been into some issues, if you guys don't know. Ariel Helwani has painted Jamal Hill out to be a worse person than he is at times. Ariel Helwani, you know how he works. He does that. Jamal Hill didn't like it, and he snapped back, which a lot of fighters don't do. And so he is kind of in Ariel's sights now. And so when Ariel has Yuri Prochazka on, he constantly has to point out that Yuri Prochazka is still the real champ and Jamal Hill's not. And then he takes Yuri Prochazka, he takes advantage of Yuri Prochazka and his broken English and his lack of understanding of the English language, and he twists words, and he creates this beef between Yuri and Jamal. He tricks Yuri into saying things that would offend Jamal, and he tricks Yuri into thinking that Jamal said things that would offend Yuri. So this rivalry is just Ariel Helwani, but it's still kind of entertaining. Next up, we have Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira. I'm also going to go C tier with this one. I don't think this one's really worth that much because it doesn't feel like it's there anymore. It was a one fight long rivalry, I feel like. I know they're having a rematch, but there isn't much energy going into it because the first fight just felt so one-sided. I know it wasn't like a one-sided beat down the whole fight. Some people like to say it was actually a very competitive fight up until the finish. I don't know about you guys, but the entire time I was watching that fight, I just heard the Jaws theme song in the back of my head. After like halfway through the first round, I was just waiting for Islam to finish him. Like maybe you guys weren't feeling the same way, but yeah, after the first like 2 minutes, I was thinking, oh, Charles is gonna lose. It's just a matter of time, and that's how it went. And I can't imagine the next fight will be any different. The only thing that made this fight super interesting on a personal level and like rivalry level is that Charles and Islam are both extremely confident to the point of being very cocky. Like people pretend that they're humble. Both of them are pretty cocky, if you're being honest. And so they butted heads quite a bit in the build-up. There was some good trash talk, but I wouldn't really call it much of a rivalry when the first fight was so one-sided. So that's why it's C tier. D tier, we've got Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. This is another D tier one. It's just not that good. There's not much there. It's Ilia Topuria trying really hard to get Alex Volkanovski's attention, and Volk is just completely disregarding him as no better than the dirt beneath his shoes, basically. He literally said, the disrespect, okay? Volk literally, on Twitter, he asked Max Holloway to not fight Ilia Topuria because he's tired of him taking out his contenders. He just completely disregarded Ilia Topuria in a weird way, said, you're not better than Max. You're not, like, worth anything to me, really. So it doesn't really feel like much of a rivalry. It just feels like one guy trying to get the attention of the other, and the other one not really giving it because he sees bigger things in his future. I think Volk is he's eyeing an Islam fight more than he really cares about any of these featherweights right now. Okay, next one, we've got, I believe this is Jamal Hill and Alex Pereira. I'm going to put this one at B tier. The only thing that makes this one interesting is there's a storyline there with Jamal Hill beating the doo-doo out of Glover Teixeira, who is Alex Pereira's, essentially Alex Pereira's teacher. Like, he's his master, he's his sensei, whatever you want to call it. He's been teaching Alex Pereira wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and they're good friends. So it's kind of like, can the student avenge the master type deal? So there's a good storyline there, but there's not really a beef. And I know rivalries don't have to be beef. I keep mentioning beef, but some good animosity really makes a rivalry better. This one doesn't have too much of that, but it does have that storyline, and it has a really good competitive feeling to it. Like, I don't know who would win this fight. I'd probably lean toward Jamal Hill, to be honest, because I think his chin is better than Alex's. Alex doesn't seem to react to shots super well, and Jamal does hit really hard, so I would probably lean toward Jamal. But yeah, on a competitive side and a storyline side of things, it's a really good rivalry. Beef-wise, it's probably D tier, but I think the other stuff makes up for that, so I'm going to say B tier. And the last one we've got is Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. I think this is another S tier. I mean, I feel kind of bad, but Adesanya is all S tier up here. He has great rivalries, man. He's so unlikable that he has amazing rivalries. This one was so fun to watch in the build-up to this fight and in the build-up to Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira, if you guys remember that press conference. Sean Strickland was able to get he was able to tear down Adesanya's confidence in himself and like his persona better than anybody else, because Sean Strickland just seems like the most authentic fighter in the UFC. He's a complete wild man. I don't agree with everything he says, but he is clearly being himself, and he isn't trying to be cool, and it doesn't feel like he's trying to make fun of someone or trying to insult them that much. It just happens. He's just really good at it because he says what he thinks. He says what he thinks about you, and what he thinks about Adesanya is not very good. The way he called out Adesanya for all the dog touching and the Chinaman stuff, and the hypocrisy for how he treated Robert Whittaker, saying Robert Whittaker abandoned the Kiwis or whatever, but then he claims China and New Zealand and Nigeria. Like, yeah. The way he got under Israel Adesanya's skin, I don't think anybody else will ever be able to do. It was incredible. Love it. That's S tier, and that's all of the rivalries. That's the whole video. That went on for too long. I'm sorry. But if you guys enjoyed the video, then please leave a like, hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.